Okay, so yeah, I crumbled. I wasn't planning to pick this up, I swear. I'm not even the biggest Nintendo fan, especially with all the handheld competition out there. Steam Deck, ROG Ally X, Lenovo Legion Go. I tried them all, but once again, Nintendo got me. I picked up the Switch too. So here's the deal. Since I have it, you're getting a full hands-on breakdown. We're covering everything, the new magnetic Joy-Cons, 4K HDR support, how games like Mario Kart, Zelda, and even Cyberpunk perform, handheld versus dock mode, and yes, I'll throw in some comparisons to the Steam Deck OLED because I'm a certified Steam Deck fanboy at this point. If you're thinking about grabbing one of these, this video should answer everything you need to know. Let's get into it. So obviously the best part, the unboxing. Right off the bat, we've got the Switch 2 branding and visuals on both the front and back of the box. Let's crack this open and see what's inside. First up, we got the main console and two new Joy-Con controllers, which we'll take a closer look at in just a sec. Underneath, we've got the rest of the accessories, a Joy-Con grip to combine the controllers, a USB-C charging cable, and a wall plug with a USB-C port on the back. Then there's the new dock, and straight away you'll notice it looks very different from the previous version. It's more rounded, a bit chunkier, and that's because it now has a built-in fan to help keep the Switch 2 cool while gaming. You'll also find an HDMI 2.1 cable for connecting to your TV or monitor, plus two Joy-Con straps. And if you picked up the Mario Kart World bundle, you'll also get a digital game code. There's no physical cartridge in the box. And here it is, the brand new Switch 2. And you know what? First impression, it looks and feels really good. Compared to the original Switch, this is definitely more my vibe. I'm a sucker for that matte black finish that they've gone with. It's sleek, subtle, and that pop of color around the thumbsticks adds just enough personality. It honestly feels a lot more premium now and puts it close to the level of other handhelds on the market. One thing you'll notice right away is that it's definitely larger than its predecessor, mostly thanks to the upgraded display. We've gone from a 6.2-inch screen to a 7.9-inch panel, which is a massive leap for handheld gaming. Let's take a look around the device. Across the top, we've got the game card slot, a new USB-C port, which is a big win because you can now charge from either the top or the bottom. Then a mic, volume buttons, and a power button. Flip it over and there's another USB-C port down at the bottom for docking or charging. Around the back, you've got the updated Switch logo and the quick sign. This thing is really good for tabletop gaming. It's fully adjustable and solid. And if you pop that open, you'll find the micro SD card slot for expanding your storage. As of now, the only colorway available is this all black look, but let's be real, this is Nintendo. Give it time, we'll probably see limited editions, neon bundle, theme releases, especially once they start rolling out a Switch 2 OLED model. Setting it up is super straightforward. First, connect the two Joy-Cons. They line up and snap into place magnetically. Then, press and hold the power button on top to boot it up. You'll run through the usual setup steps, pick your language, connect to Wi-Fi, and agree to the terms. If you're upgrading from the original Switch, you can choose to transfer your data here. I sold mine a while ago, so we'll be skipping that, but it's great for pulling over save files and user profiles. Once you're all set, we're ready to go. And the first thing I'm doing is installing some games. I've got Mario Kart World from the bundle, Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and yes, Cyberpunk 2077. Can't wait to see how that one runs. So as I mentioned earlier, the Switch 2 comes with a brand new 7.9-inch display, and honestly, it's a really solid upgrade over the previous model, not just in size, but also in specs. This is a 1080 LCD screen that supports 120Hz refresh rate, HDR, and VRR, which means everything looks incredibly smooth and vibrant. Every game I've tested so far just looks amazing on it. The colors are punchy, it's bright enough to use comfortably in most lighting conditions, and the image quality is just super clean. Now, no, it's not OLED, and yeah, in 2025, I'd love to see OLED be the standard for handhelds, but this LCD panel is honestly one of the better ones I've seen. The biggest OLED advantage is those inky black levels, and yeah, the Switch 2 doesn't quite hit that. You're not getting the same depth in shadows, especially in darker rooms, but in brighter environments or daytime use, it actually holds up surprisingly well. Viewing angles are also decent. As you move it around, the image stays visible, though you do lose a bit of contrast and color. Now, it is a glossy screen, so expect some reflections, but in my opinion, it still looks fantastic overall. If I had to nitpick, I'd say the bezels could have been a bit thinner. They're not huge, but with a nearly 8-inch display, some extra trimming would have made it look even more modern. Alright, now let's talk Joy-Cons, because Nintendo actually made some meaningful changes here. At a glance, they look familiar. Similar shape and button layout to the originals, but they're noticeably larger now. That includes the thumbsticks, which finally feel more like what you expect from a modern controller. They're grippy, responsive, and way more comfortable than the tiny ones on the OG Switch. On top, you've got your standard triggers, and on the front, there's a new dedicated C button, short for chat, which brings up the in-game voice chat menu. We'll dive deeper into what that does later in the video. Now, let's address the biggest change. No more slide and click rail system. The Switch 2 uses magnetic connectors for attaching the Joy-Cons, and I gotta say, I was skeptical at first, but this is a huge improvement. The magnets are strong, the connection feels solid, and detaching them is super satisfying. Just press the little button on the back and the Joy-Con pops right off. Clean, easy, no fuss. Inside, there's a nice pop of color that matches the accents on the console itself, and the SL and SR buttons are now much bigger, so if you're using them in two-player mode, they're actually comfortable to press. You also get the Joy-Con grip in the box, which lets you combine the two controls into a more traditional gamepad. Just a heads up though, there are no extra remappable buttons or paddles on the grip, which is a bit of a letdown for anyone hoping for that pro controller vibe right out of the box. Still, overall, these Joy-Cons are a nice evolution. Not revolutionary, but definitely smarter and more user-friendly than before. Let's talk about games, because this is where things really start to shine. First off, let's talk about Mario Kart World, which is a native Switch 2 title and comes bundled with some additions of the console. It runs beautifully, looks great on that new screen, and honestly, this alone is going to move a lot of units. There are a few other native Switch 2 games already out, but this is the one I was able to get my hands on at launch. Then we've got remasters and ports. These are games that originally launched on other platforms and have been tweaked to run on the Switch 2. And honestly, if you've only ever played on a Switch, this opens a ton of new experiences. We're talking games like Cyberpunk 27, Hogwarts Legacy, and Split Fiction. Are they perfect ports? Not always, but they're optimized enough to feel native, especially in handheld mode. Then there are older Switch games getting remastered for the new hardware. Titles like Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are both available for purchase again. And here's the cool part. If you already own the original cartridge, you can upgrade to the remastered version for a small fee. Once upgraded, you just pop the cartridge in and enjoy the enhanced version. On top of that, most of your old Switch library will work just fine, physical or digital. You can carry over a ton of your collection. Just be sure to check Nintendo's compatibility list online, as not every game has been confirmed yet. Physically, the game cartridges themselves haven't changed much. Aside from the updated logo, they're nearly identical to the original cartridges, which means you can plug both new and old cartridges directly into the slot at the top of the device. And with storage, this is huge. The Switch 2 now comes with 256 gigabytes built in, up from just 32 gigabytes on the original model. So you got way more room to work with right out of the box. So when it comes to playing on the Switch, you've got three main ways to do it: handheld, tabletop, and docked. As for most of my time with it so far, I've been using it handheld, which honestly feels like the way this console was meant to be played. I was a little worried at first because this version is about 100 grams heavier than the last one, but the weight is surprisingly well balanced. Thanks to the slighter, larger body and improved ergonomics, it actually feels really natural in the hands. The thicker triggers and more contoured grips definitely make a difference. It's just more comfortable to hold for longer sessions. But where I've really been blown away is performance. I mean, I'm playing Cyberpunk 2077 on a Nintendo console, and it looks this good. That custom processor is clearly doing work. No, it's not on the level of like a PS5 Pro or a high-end gaming PC, but for something this small, it's impressive. And then there's Mario Kart World. This game looks absolutely stunning on the 1080 screen. It's smooth, vibrant, and crazy fun. Plus, with support for up to 120 FPS, certain titles feel insanely responsive for a handheld device. So yeah, handheld gaming on the Switch 2, it's not just viable, it's honestly a really fun portable experience. Now, if you're more of a couch gamer and love playing on the big screen, dock mode is where it's at, especially for local multiplayer or couch co-op. Let's take a look at the actual dock. Design-wise, it's had a bit of a glow up. It's slightly bulkier than the previous version with more rounded corners and a matte finish that matches the new console perfectly. But more importantly, it now has a built-in fan. That means better thermal management when you're pushing catching more intense 4K visuals. On the back, you'll find a clean layout with a hinged panel that opens up to reveal all the ports: HDMI 2.1, USB-C for power, and a port for accessories like Ethernet adapters or external storage. Sliding the console into the dock is super easy. It still connects via USB-C, but the fit feels smoother and more secure. And once it's docked, you'll instantly see the UI scale up for big screen play. The Switch 2 supports up to 4K output when docked, with HDR enabled for supported displays, and let me just say, if you got a good 4K TV, this thing looks incredible. Games like Cyberpunk and Zelda really come to life on a big panel with HDR on. It's crisp, clean, and way better than I expected from a Nintendo console. So overall, dock mode feels like a next-gen upgrade. Now, let's talk about tabletop mode, the one that tends to get overlooked but is actually super useful. This is perfect for travel, small group play, or when you just want to set the console down and use the Joy-Cons wirelessly. The new kickstand is wide, sturdy, and fully adjustable. It runs across nearly the entire length of the back, giving the Switch 2 way better stability. You can tilt it to pretty much any angle, which is great whether you're on a desk, a kitchen table, or even trying to play on a flight tray table. Now, what it can't do is elevate the screen, so if you want to raise it higher or prop it up at eye level, you'll still need a third-party stand or accessory. But for casual play, quick sessions, or multiplayer on the go, tabletop mode is more practical than ever. Detach the controllers, set the console down, and boom. Now, here's one of the coolest surprises. The new Joy-Cons come with built-in mouse-like functionality. So what does that mean? When detached from the console, you can actually slide the Joy-Con around on a flat surface and control an on-screen pointer, almost like a trackpad or mouse, and it actually works shockingly well. It's responsive, surprisingly accurate, and kind of fun to use, especially in games or apps that support it. It feels like something only Nintendo would come up with. Right now, the only real place you can test this feature is the new Welcome Tour app that launches during setup. It's like an onboarding experience, and it gives you a taste of what the Joy-Con mouse control can do. In terms of the UI and navigating around the system, it's basically the same experience we've had before. Yes, it looks a little cleaner and sharper now thanks to the upgraded hardware, but the menus, layout, and navigation are all super familiar. That's not necessarily a bad thing. It's intuitive and snappy, but I do think it would have been nice to see a complete UI refresh to make this feel more like a true generational leap. As for sound, yep, we've got built-in speakers here too, so if you don't feel like using headphones or earbuds, you're good to go. And actually, they sound surprisingly decent. There's more depth and clarity than I expected. Here's a quick speaker test so you can hear what I'm hearing. Alright, now for the big question, how do certain games run on the Switch 2 compared to other handheld gaming devices? So over here I have the Steam Deck OLED, and since I have Cyberpunk for both these consoles, let's give it a go. Let's see how Cyberpunk 2077 run on the Switch 2 compared to my Steam Deck OLED. First up, let's talk graphics and performance. On the Steam Deck OLED, Cyberpunk looks stunning. The OLED screen really brings out those deep blacks and vibrant colors, making Night City feel alive and atmospheric. The Steam Deck's custom AMD APU delivers solid performance, and with some tweaking, you can get some smooth gameplay around 30 to 40 FPS on medium settings. On the Switch 2, I was honestly blown away that this thing can even run Cyberpunk at all. The visuals aren't quite as sharp or detailed, it's running on a less powerful custom processor, but the 1080p screen and HDR support still make it look pretty impressive for a handheld Nintendo device. The frame rates hover closer to 30 FPS, which is playable, but you're definitely trading some graphical fidelity for portability and convenience. Control-wise, both are pretty comfortable, but they cater to different styles. The Steam Deck's built-in trackpads and clickable thumbsticks give you a ton of precision, especially for aiming and camera control in a game like Cyberpunk. And the Switch 2's Joy-Cons are solid and more ergonomic than before. Game library and ecosystem also make a big difference here. The Steam Deck gives you full access to the entire Steam library plus PC mods, while the Switch 2 focuses on Nintendo's ecosystem. So while you can play big AAA games like Cyberpunk through ports, the overall library is different and more curated. Battery life is another factor. The Steam Deck gets around 2 to 3 hours when playing Cyberpunk depending on settings. The Switch 2 with its efficiency improvements tends to last a bit longer in handheld mode, but obviously if you're gaming at max brightness or docked, expect it to drain faster. At the end of the day, if you want pure performance and a massive PC game library on the go, the Steam Deck OLED still takes the crown, but if you're a Nintendo fan who wants to play some big name games alongside exclusive titles like Mario Kart and Zelda, and you love the convenience of Nintendo's ecosystem, the Switch 2 holds its own surprisingly well. I'm really excited to see how both devices evolve, but right now they offer two different handheld gaming experiences, and both are awesome in their own way. So after spending some time with the Switch 2, here's the bottom line. This is a solid upgrade that Nintendo fans and even casual gamers can appreciate. The bigger, brighter screen, improved Joy-Cons with magnetic attachment, and that surprisingly powerful new processor make handheld gaming feel fresh again. The 4K dock mode looks incredible if you got a compatible TV, and the game library from native titles to remasters and backward compatibility means there's something for everyone. It's not perfect, of course. I wish the OLED screen was standard and the Joy-Con grip lacks those extra pro features. Plus, for pure raw power and flexibility, the Steam Deck OLED still has the edge. But if you want a portable console that's easy to pick up, built with Nintendo exclusives in mind, and that now steps up its game in visuals and comfort, this is definitely worth buying. If you're upgrading from the original Switch, the difference is noticeable enough to justify the jump, especially with the added storage and fast performance. And if you're new to Nintendo or handheld gaming in general, the Switch 2 is a fantastic entry point. So yeah, for me the Switch 2 earns a solid recommendation. It's a smart mix of nostalgia, innovation, practicality, all wrapped up into one sleek package. So yeah, that's my breakdown of the Switch 2. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe to the channel, and if you have other recommendations or other things to say about the Switch 2, leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.